For several years now, the university is expecting the passing of the regulations, because the legislation per se already exists, the regulations in order to be able to offer some undergraduate courses in English, which is very important because one of the things that define the success of a university is internationalization. You cannot be an international academic institution to a higher degree if you don't offer some courses in other languages.
You want brain drain to stop, or rather, let's talk about brain gain, right? Why not bring someone from the US or the UK or Malaysia or wherever, an English-speaking person to contribute to your economy?
You have hit the nail on the head, exactly. For me, brain gain or reversing brain drain is not about bringing all the Cypriots back to Cyprus. Of course, that would be nice. Brain gain is if 100 scientists decide to leave Cyprus, but 150 French, German, English, Malaysians come to Cyprus, and then it's a brain gain. Mm-hmm. It's a matter of attracting talent to Cyprus irrespective of their nationality. So the best universities in the world, their ranking depends on how diversified are the geographical backgrounds of students and faculty. The best universities are those universities that attract people from Asia, from Europe, from the States. It's non-debatable that they have come together, the people from different backgrounds or different cultures. That's the only way that academic excellence is improved, and new ideas and exchanging of perspectives. For example, I think the University of Cyprus would be much more successful if we had many more students from abroad. I wouldn't necessarily would like all the Cypriot students studying in the University of Cyprus. I would think it's beneficial for the country, for a lot of people studying abroad, but a lot of people from abroad studying in Cyprus as well. So everybody will be able to exchange ideas and backgrounds, and that's the essence of brain gain.
Welcome to the Financial Frontiers podcast. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit that bell icon to get notified when we upload new content. Follow us on Spotify and give us a 5-star rating. It will help the channel, which I hope you love so much. Here we are, another episode on the Financial Frontiers podcast. Today, my guest is Tasos Anastasiou, Chairman of the Council of the University of Cyprus, which, from what I've understood from what I've read, is you're doing that pro bono.
Correct.
Which is, I think, is obviously we're going to get into a discussion on why you're doing that. Obviously, it's got to be good intentional. And thank you for your time over here. Let's get into a discussion.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. This one's going to be generally about Cyprus, the economy, the educational system. As a product of the country, how do we leverage off of that to increase and boost the economy? Brain drain, all these new trending words that we speak. Thank you for your time, Tasos. Please introduce yourself, and thank you.
Thank you again for the invitation. It's great to be here. For the last 1.5 years, I serve as the chairman of the Council of the University of Cyprus, and I'm also doing strategic advisory work. Before that, for almost 2 decades, I was CEO for the most part in a Cyprus group of companies, old economy, if you like. And then for 5 years, CEO in a fintech company with operations literally across the globe. I decided that this full-time career had come to full circle, and since the last 3 years, as I said, I'm doing mostly strategic advisory work. I was approached to serve as chairman of the Council of the University of Cyprus, which is an institution I have always regarded very highly, and it was an opportunity to give something back to society. Hopefully my impact is positive and not negative, but that's how it started. And since then, I'm trying to add whatever positive contribution I can to this great institution.
Great. So 20 plus years, 25 years serving as CEO, on the board, let's call it, of reputable companies, all in Cyprus?
All in Cyprus, but as I said, my last position was the base was in Cyprus, but it was
Global
global
operation.
operations, so a lot of traveling and.
Yes.
Really, it's the difference between having a very serving in a very big group, but in Cyprus with Cyprus operations, vis-a-vis having a scalable company in the fintech environment that your clients and associates are across the globe.
Of course. I mean, the fintech industry is one that my company's primarily focused on, and most, if not all of them, are international. Their operations are international. They have their base here. It's for the licensing, but they are operating internationally. It's a really important economic driver for the country. It's very important, and as you know, has put Cyprus on the map, at least in the financial services space.
Definitely, and the ecosystem that has been created, as you said, it's a very big driver for growth, and it has created a solid base of professionals in many related fields that serve this industry.
100%. So let's talk about your background specifically, serving as C-level. In what specific domain of expertise? What is it that you studied that landed you in these jobs, or is it because of any studies? In what specific?
My studies were I studied at the London School of Economics with specialization in accounting and finance, and then I did the chartered accountancy with a Big Four firm. I have always had the aspiration to work outside the profession, and it's one of the things that the professional qualification allowed me to do, because it serves as a springboard to go in various industries. So as I said, I started in local companies, big companies for Cyprus size, and then ended up in the fintech sector. The main thing is that I want to convey across is that management skills are transferable and they can be applied to an old economy, to new economy. Recently, I think today or yesterday, there was an announcement of a change of the CEO of Kering, the luxury group owning Gucci and all of these brands. And the new CEO is the CEO of Renault. So it has been quite a debate about this, but as I said, it shows that key management skills can be transferable to various industries, because the main asset you have to deal and utilize, it's people. So
right.
We have come to that.
And I guess we'll get into that conversation a little bit later in this podcast on your perspective of the in any person's professional career, what most regard is, the right place to start is you go to a university, get some form of degree, and then we'll get into a discussion on, well, I don't know the statistics, but I believe that not everybody follows the profession that they started out, and what degree that they landed or completed. They veer off in another direction. And there could be many various reasons, and it'd be good to hear your perspective on that. And then, I guess let's get into that. Let's get into that straight away, your perspective on that. And also I wanted to ask you another question. You mentioned a couple of times the old economy and the new economy. I would like to hear what you mean by that. So let's go with the old economy, new economy first.
Yes,
question.
I use these terms in no way comparing the two. It's just to give a perspective of the differences between two organizations. That one has been in industries that the pace of evolution is more manageable. It's more natural. Of course, technology is present in every single sector. So it's either a hotel, it's either in real estate, it's in building materials, and I'm mentioning activities that were the activities of my tenure as a CEO in that group of companies.
The 20 years that
yes,
you served.
15 years, yes, more or less. And whereas I would define the new economy a much higher pace of evolution, the scalability has also have to do with it. You have operations in Cyprus or Dubai or in London, and you can apply these services and these products everywhere in the world. It's the potential market out there. It's more reachable if you are in this kind of business. So there are differences clearly between in these parameters that I mentioned, the pay, the scalability, and the reach. But at the end of the day, you have to serve clients and you have to serve them well. So that's what it comes down to it in all sectors, in all aspects of the economy.
I guess another way to maybe define that, and you can confirm if I've understood it, is what the internet has done to traditional or old school businesses, and where you're able to scale your business a lot quicker than your standard old school, old economy type in retail or whatever business, every single business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Of course, there are businesses where your product is here. You send, you are selling
Physical
something physical experience. So if you are in hotel business, here's your hotel. You cannot. There are tremendous opportunities utilizing the technology, of course, reaching clientele and enhancing client experience through utilizing technology. But the dimensions are different for
course.
Sure.
Like a real estate company is always going to have physical bricks and mortar and things. They have to build physical structures. Their scale of presenting their products, I guess, changes with technology, in where somebody from a remote, abroad, thousands of kilometers away, is able to do a virtual tour of, the about to be apartment or home.
And also enhancing their own product, the real estate product per se, through utilization of technology in the experience that the new owner will be able to enjoy and all these things. Yeah.
Can you give some examples? Like how would that be? Say, for example, in like real estate, is it like their internal just out of interest, right? It's interesting.
I'm not an expert.
Okay.
Well, but yes, it's a matter of smart housing and all these things.
Got it.
That's what I mean.
Okay. Clap your hands. Things go on.
Yes.
Before you get to the house, it knows you're about to arrive, and it turns on the heating if it's cold.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. So let's focus on education, and I think that is a good question that I'll bring up again. Somebody who's starting out now, right? They're confused. They don't know. I don't know what I want to do in my life, and the pressure that I think many might feel is, what if I make the wrong decision over here? What if I choose something that I don't like, and I invest so much time? I spend 4 or 5 years to get accounting certified, or whatever, doctor, whatever, and then I realize that 15 years later I'm not actually happy with what I'm doing over here, and I'm at that point I'll be 35. What kind of advice can you give, or what is your perspective on that? You're an exact example. You didn't follow a degree that you've completed. You didn't follow that path. Yeah.
I didn't follow it per se. I didn't follow the profession, but of course I utilized
what you studied.
What I studied, yes, especially in the initial part of my career. And it was something that I knew before doing it, that it was something that I would be able to utilize to choose from a wider range of options. But going back to your exact point, I think there are two main things that one has to take into account in making this choice. First of all, it has to be a choice that will allow you to find work and be able to earn a living, unless you don't have this issue, which you can skip that part. And the other thing is to do something that you enjoy. I'm not going to copy the meme that if you do what you love, you will not have to work a day in your life. That's the ideal, and I don't think anyone has achieved that 100%. But at least you should be aiming to study something that you are fairly okay with it, and not something that your parents have always aspired you to be, because in Cyprus we also have this issue, I think, to a larger degree than other countries. The parents that didn't become doctors, they want their son or daughter to become a doctor. And so there has to be employability, and there has to be a fair degree of enjoying what you're doing. If you have these two, it's not certain that you'll be definitely okay with your choices in the future, because anyway, as persons, our interests change with age. So something that you find very interesting at the age of 20, in the age of 40, you may have a midlife crisis and try to change it. But I would say my advice to students, to high school students, is to try to find try to balance these two parameters.
Yeah. And I guess anything you learn is not time lost. Whatever you learned, you can use it in even if it may seem like a completely irrelevant profession. You've learned something that will
Definitely
help you.
Nobody can take away from you a good degree, and it's part of training. It's part of being educated in the broader sense in life. Education is not something that it's a necessary step towards employment. It's a part of growing up as person as such. So it's a journey.
Yeah.
And for sure, there are different educational systems that from young age try to direct persons to what they are going to study because of what they think they should be doing for the rest of their lives. And there are educational systems that are more broad. I'm not an expert in assessing where the Cyprus system lies in this spectrum, but I would say it's more to the less broader, let's say, part of the spectrum.
Yeah,
I'm talking about secondary education now, because that's where it all starts. So having, and I think it's one of the things that the Ministry of Education is focusing on, educating, informing pupils on the job opportunities and what they should be studying according to which path they are aiming to take. It's one of the things they are trying to enhance.
And there's no right or wrong answer.
Definitely.
This is a conversation that I keep having with my wife, about our kids, and every parent has this, and so it's a good point you brought up there, where you as a 17, 18, 20-year-old, and you thinking about what you want to do, take everyone around you advice with a pinch of salt, even your parents, and do what you want, because it's exactly that. The parents don't have the context of yourself. They have their own context. I wish I did it. I was a doctor or a football player or whatever, and they pass it on to their child. And that's not maybe what the child wants to do.
But also, like you mentioned now, the footballer, the parents should guide without, of course, cutting the wings of each child.
Of course,
But
yes.
okay, especially in younger ages, half of the male kids want to be Ronaldo, and they think if they practice enough, they will become Ronaldo or Messi, which is not the case, of course. So there has to be, in a way, in a nice way, some advice, some guidance as to where each kid's abilities.
I'm all for that, you know. So if you say you don't want to cut the wings because there could be a chance that that child you're talking to could make it. But I think what's important is just to let them know the odds. It is very highly unlikely that you'll get there. You might have the talent. But it's not only talent. There's a lot of things. Things need to align. There's politics. There's, who you don't know. It's very highly improbable that you're not. But do what you want. Enjoy yourself. If you want to try and do it, get out there and understand that your chances of failure are very high.
Definitely get them to appreciate the importance of physical exercise, of course.
Yes. Another example of anything you do is not lost.
Exactly.
And you might not achieve.
You might not end up Ronaldo or Messi, but during these very important years of young age, you are exercising, and that will have extreme benefits for the rest of your life.
100%. And so, just going back to, as I said, there's no right or wrong answer, but what I keep having this conversation with my wife, and she's of the opinion that, they should go to university and whatever it is. And I agree with it, but I'm more of the opinion that you learn more on the job, right? You learn more on the job. I'm not saying don't go, because education is important. You learn something. But putting the practical, in my ideal world, I would have loved if my kids had to go out into the workforce, work whatever job it is, whatever it is, choose a profession that you want to do, degree-wise or whatever, and study that over and above your day job, because your day job is going to help you plot what you want to do. Now, I understand that is a massive, then they won't have time for personal, work-life balance. But if you're doing things that you enjoy up to a certain point, that is not, it shouldn't be viewed as a burden, whatever you do in life. Obviously, you're not going to choose something that is, if it was up to anyone, you'd be gaming all day or so. But, if you're more or less there, I think, when you get out, you learn to be street smart. You understand you appreciate more what it means, and the doors that open or close without a degree, right? Because you start out and you're working without a degree. The degrees open doors, and what it does is it shows to potential employers that it's
signaling.
Yeah,
it's a signaling.
You're able to follow instructions. You're disciplined enough to have gotten to the point to get a degree. It shows something, right? And so trying to get the best, because I personally don't have a degree, but I work my butt off.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right? I work my butt off. So there's no right or wrong answer. Good. Moving on to your background, and you'd started out in the corporate world, very high position for 20 years, whatever it is. What made you decide to stop? You mentioned that it was full cycle. You felt that you had concluded your professional career in the corporate world. What was that transition like? So you moved from there. You're doing now the almost. Could we call it a government job? I don't know.
It has some aspects of a government job, in the sense that the university belongs to the public sector, so all the red tape of the public sector is there, or the inflexibility of the public sector is there. And if you are used to the pace of the corporate world and the pace of taking decisions and implementing these decisions, and then it's a big shock, I would say. because there are constraints for budgets, for approvals, for changing the framework of work. And this is something that the state has to see about the university and giving it more flexibility in certain aspects. So going back to the comparison between the private corporate world and the public sector, there is a shock, there is some frustration in many aspects, some things that you feel are natural and you shouldn't be asking anybody. There are a lot of procedures that should be done. Of course, it's understandable. It's the taxpayers' money, and there should be procedures. There should be scrutiny. There should be transparency, 100%. But some aspects should be given. In some aspects, the university should be given some more autonomy, or at least some more flexibility, provided they are in the approved strategic plan of the government, of the state. They should be done more easily.
How are you addressing those challenges? Because, I get it, right? If you're the CEO of a company in the corporate world, all you have to do is serve the shareholders' interest, right? That's it. You don't have a whole, line of approvals to go through that are out of your control. So you're a bit more agile. Obviously, the bigger an organization gets, the more rigid it gets. But you move into, and actually, that's a good example. So companies that grow to such an extent where, especially if they're on publicly listed and they've got hundreds or thousands of shareholders, you're not able to flexibly change things up to a certain degree better than government, yes. But if you think about the government, it's just a really large organization at the end of the day.
True.
And you've got access, obviously, to taxpayers' money, and you're accountable for it. Of course, there should be transparency. 100% agreed. But now it comes with this challenge of rigidity, right? You're not agile. So how are you? I guess you had a little bit of a taste of it, because I'm not sure how big the organizations were that you were in before, but I'm sure not as big as mine. I've got super flexibility. I can do whatever I want. I can pivot. I've got no one to respond to. Mm-hmm. It's super flexible. I don't know if I'll do well in a big organization where I think, no, we need to make a fundamental change over here, and I know it, I just feel it. Over here, I've got the flexibility of just doing it. In an organization like that, you have to get the approval. It's a selling job, right?
It's a selling job, for sure.
Yes.
Still, there is there's a big difference between even public listed companies with the public sector. The number one thing you have to have it's patience. You have to have a lot of patience. The selling job, like you very correctly mentioned, it gets harder and harder because you have to go through ministries, you have to go to parliament, there is a whole range of different authorities that you have to convince, and not necessarily stakeholders with more aligned interest than even a public listed company has. And it's a different skill set that you have to develop, and it's one of the challenges that sometimes they make me feel that I did the wrong choice by accepting this position, but sometimes they made me feel that I made the right choice because it's a learning experience, and it's something that you have to develop in order to pursue the strategy and what you aim to offer to this organization.
Yeah.
Like you said before, with the matter of education never stops. It's a matter of
even you today. I guess your education now has moved into, and this applies across. This is for everyone. Words can create and stop wars. The power of words right? You want something to pass. It's being able to convince that perspective, and
there are skills that you can transfer and experiences that you can transfer from each that apply to, even from different points of view, that apply to different situations. For example, being able to convince the stakeholders that are in the domain of the university's activities. For example, we have recently published a report, a study, a very scientific study about the footprint of the University of Cyprus in the society and its impact in economy and society, other than the academic aspect that of course is obvious to everybody, and with a very interesting results that I think will allow us to build on this base to convince the stakeholders that our cooperation will be more streamlined, and get the strategic milestones of the university getting more support for the benefit of the society, of course, and Cyprus in general.
Can you share some of these results with us?
Yes. First of all, the purely economic results, and it was a part of the microeconomic study that was conducted, show that the investment of the state in the University of Cyprus has very high returns in the sense that it creates a multiple times of economic product. For example, for each million of euros invested in the University of Cyprus, the economic product is multiplied sevenfold, the GDP 3.5 times, and there is a creation of around 100 jobs in the ecosystem of the university. Now this translates in the 2024 figures into an economic product due to the University of Cyprus of 1.2 billion. Of the GDP, the impact of the university contributed close to 570 million euros. And the ecosystem that relies on the University of Cyprus has 12,000 jobs, which is extremely important for an economy of the size of Cyprus.
That's significant.
It's significant.
Yeah, and when I saw these numbers, and actually before we came to this podcast, we discussed that number, which it blew my mind. And when I read it off of the face value, I guess I read it wrong. So 12,000 jobs, I immediately took that as direct jobs, but let's clarify that one. Go ahead. So
Yeah, and another, you mentioned earlier the new terminology that we are used to hear nowadays about the brain drain, and the brain gain. This report has quantified the impact of the University of Cyprus in reversing the brain drain, or in contributing to brain gain, if you like. And for 2024, the quantifiable impact of the University of Cyprus in this aspect was around 1,000 jobs, value-adding jobs in the economy, 130 million euros in economic product, and around 85 millions in GDP, which is very important.
This is super significant, because if you think, so 12,000 jobs, it doesn't obviously mean that the university pays 12,000 people.
It's a bit less than 2,000 people.
Let's say 2,000 people, but 10,000 jobs exist as a result of the university. And if you think about that number, right, 12,000, what is the workforce of Cyprus? 250,000?
I would say about right.
Somewhere there. It's 5%. It's around 5%. Is my math right? 250, 10%, 25, 5%. Yeah.
There is an impact of this magnitude. The impact in the GDP is around 1%, I think, or something like that, which is very big for one organization.
All right. Okay. So I know that the University of Cyprus is the courses are in Greek only. Am I right?
The undergraduate courses.
The undergraduate. Okay. So, which is the degrees.
Yes.
What other courses are there?
The postgraduate degrees, the masters and PhDs, some of them are in English.
And in which professions do we have? Is it in the University of Cyprus? Is there chartered accountant, doctor?
The schools of the university, the main schools are the medicine school, the economics and finance school. We have the engineering school, the positive sciences, the humanities, the philosophy. These are the six main schools. So they cover a broad aspect of subjects. Going back to our conversation about convincing stakeholders, you mentioned about the language of the undergraduate courses. For several years now, the university is expecting the passing of the regulations, because the legislation per se already exists, the regulations in order to be able to offer some undergraduate courses in English, which is very important, because one of the things that define the success of a university is internationalization. You cannot be an international academic institution to a higher degree if you don't offer some courses in other languages, in this case in the English language of some courses. And there is debate over debate in the parliament about many aspects. Nothing is wrong with debate. Of course, the public debate is necessary for general improvement, but at some point the state should be able to get things going so that it's investment in the University of Cyprus, but at the end of the day, it's the investment of the taxpayer, goes ahead and continues its upward path. And one of the things that I would like to mention here, going back to the general management lessons one learns from his career, there is a big risk of complacency in success. Why I mentioned this in relation with the University of Cyprus. A lot of people in the society, they recognize the success of the University of Cyprus, its rankings in the academic institution rankings are quite high. The graduates of the University of Cyprus are widely sought by employers, and rightfully so. So the risk lies in complacency. I say, why change? Why introduce English-speaking undergraduate courses? You are doing well. Why change something that goes well? The answer is that if you don't make any changes, the as-is situation, as it calls in management textbook, is not a straight line, it's a downward line. So to keep this level, you have to continuously improving, as everybody's improving. It's a very competitive industry, the tertiary education. And unless you do something to improve yourself, you cannot be operating with the legislation and regulations of 1991 when the University of Cyprus was established. In 1989, to be specific, when the first legislation was drafted, there was no internet. There was the Eastern Bloc and the Western Bloc in Europe. 35 years ago, the world was another place.
Of course.
You cannot be operating with the same regulations for so long. And you must be able to allow this institution to progress and to serve its purpose. And that's how it should be.
You know, I try and imagine, I agree, debate is important, debate is good. But for me, it's almost a no-brainer. But just as, you know, in my mind, there's so many compelling arguments that could come from the other side. And I'm pretty sure that, you know, whoever it is that is very strong, opinionated that, you know, we shouldn't introduce any English courses, might come and, you know, bring a strong argument in the debate. But for me, it's a very basic thing. You want brain drain to stop, or rather, let's talk about brain gain, right? It's not only the Cypriot people. If you've got English, why not bring, someone from the US or the UK or Malaysia or wherever, an English-speaking person, to contribute to your economy and stay over here because you've got, all the other things in terms of a place to live going for you.
You have hit the nail on the head. Exactly. For me, brain gain or reversing brain drain is not about bringing all the Cypriots back to Cyprus. Of course, that would be nice to have. But brain gain is if 100 scientists decide to leave Cyprus, but 150 French, German, English, Malaysians come to Cyprus, and then it is brain gain. Mm-hmm. It's a matter of attracting talent to Cyprus, irrespective of their nationality. So it's very important for universities and academic institutions. The best universities in the world, the ranking depends on how diversified are the geographical backgrounds of students and faculty. The best universities are those universities that attract people from Asia, from Europe, from the States. It's non-debatable that there has to be. They have come together, the people from different backgrounds or different cultures. That's the only way that academic excellence is improved and new ideas and exchanging of perspectives. For example, I think the University of Cyprus would be much more successful if we had many more students from abroad. And I wouldn't necessarily would like all the Cypriot students studied in the University of Cyprus. I would think it's beneficial for the country, for a lot of people studying abroad, but a lot of people from abroad studying in Cyprus as well. So everybody will be able to exchange ideas and backgrounds, and that's the essence of brain gain, if you ask me, in any particular country.
I think that flexibility makes sense. And I mean, if you take, so Cyprus, obviously, we're a very small country, and that comes with its benefits, pros and cons. If you look at that as an example and see which are the most successful countries in the world, take the US for example, it's a powerhouse. But there's not American. I mean, it's for people from all over the world that have gone there, massive skill set, and they're contributing to that economy. And so,
that's why it makes you wonder how the new administration in the US is planning to deal with all these obstacles it puts in its academic institutions with foreign students and this. But it's another matter. For example, like you said, all this inflow of foreign students in the top US universities, they contributed tremendously in making them the best universities around the world with the best research results, and ultimately with a huge contribution in the development of the US. US is there's no debate; it's the driving force globally. But we should be looking at how it came to that. It's because of this. Openness, exactly.
Yeah. I'm going to bring a small topic, it's a very big topic, but a bit out of the scope of, what we've discussed now, which is, and it's this is a big concern. So, in the US, the students, the discussion here is about drugs and, the use of enhancers for cognitive ability and how that has gone completely off the rails, in my opinion. Where, especially like in Silicon Valley, where you hear they take small doses of LSD or whatever it is that helps cognitive function. In my opinion, none of this, these synthetic products will do you any good. Do we have a similar problem here?
Not that I know of, not remotely, but maybe out of reality. But I don't think there might be a problem, but definitely not to the degree that it's so obvious.
It's crazy. And actually, I was watching, I saw this, the podcast of Joe Rogan with Kash Patel. This guy's the director of the FBI. And he is claiming that China is on this unofficial, undisclosed war against the US, and they're introducing through, these.
So we have the opium wars in reverse.
Yeah, the opium wars in reverse. But they're doing it in a very discreet, evil way, where they're discussing fentanyl and how, young kids, 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds, they're taking in the form of like colorful jelly babies and whatever it is. They take these drugs for a fix-upper, but they're dying. And, we just got to make sure that this is not happening for us. And that's a great selling point even. Come to our universities. We don't have we don't have a drug problem in terms of attracting outside people.
Yeah. It's very worrying, of course. This trend that you mentioned exists, and it's very worrying. We should be careful not to have this problem 100%. To a high degree. Yes.
Yeah. Because here's the thing, right? One might say, it's a problem in the US. What are you talking about? You're in Cyprus. What are you talking about? No. To make no mistake, what happens in the US is a ripple effect.
Definitely.
It comes across. There's a ripple effect, westernization. Whatever happens it starts there. A lot of what happens in the US impacts the whole world at some point. And so it is almost like a mark of, what you can expect to happen. There was a crisis in 2008, 2012, we had issues, right? This is just one example.
Yes.
So
globalization has, it applies for good things and for bad things. So we could never be very careful. We should be vigilant and we even try to utilize the small society factor, which has its drawbacks. But in these instances, it's a preventive mechanism to,
of course,
to allow this.
We're in a fortunate position because we can see the risks, and also the positive and the negative that might come, and how we can embrace it.
Yes.
So it was another topic that I wanted. AI, right? Let's walk into AI a little bit, and technology in general. How is technology changing the university generally? And are you incorporating AI? Whether that is, the lecturers and how they use. Will we see a point where in 5, 6, 7, 10 years, lecturers are completely replaced by AI-based lecturers? I don't know. And what does that look like? I've gone a bit more into the future here, but why not have that discussion? Because I don't think it is impossible. And let's start with, I guess, your feedback on what is happening today in the university and how has AI changed the university?
It's a very big topic. It's a topic that, in my opinion, no one can give a definite answer. But it is something that, especially for an academic institution that prides itself to be of a certain standard, like the University of Cyprus, AI should be the focus of research, the focus of providing related topics and studies, and the focus of applying AI methods in delivering lectures or in preventing use of AI for from students or for researchers in the bad sense. University of Cyprus has attracted private funding, and it's very important to establish specific AI chair which is going to be, I think, the chair will be inaugurated in the next 9 months or so. And it's one of the things that we are trying to achieve, attract private funding for certain initiatives of the university, and attracting funding for AI. It's very important for funds for the AI purpose. There are subjects on AI that are being taught in the engineering department, in the IT school, and they are being enhanced continuously. For me, we are at the point where, with regard to AI, at the same point we were with internet in 1995 or 96. It was something out there. We knew it's going to be big, but nobody knew exactly how. But what you had to do, you had to stay vigilant and put research resources and study it so that you can use its applications and be the first to use applications. Like one said, you're not going to use your work from AI, but you're going to lose your work from somebody who utilizes it better than you. Imagine how this applies to universities. So yes, in 10 years' time, we mentioned before the pace of change. 10 years' time, nowadays with the AI developments, definitely what you described could happen. Nobody knows. But what I definitely know is that as a university, as a research organization, we have to be at the forefront of what is going on and study and examine every change.
Right. So, I mean, apart from having obviously courses, and maybe these are courses that are specifically about AI, which, in my opinion, that's something very difficult to.
AI from the side of the programmers, from the development.
Yes, that's very difficult. You know, when you say as a university, we're going to create a course on AI so that somebody can get into AI. It's very difficult to do that because it's a very fast changing landscape. But there are some fundamentals that a person can learn as a skill set to get into AI. But that's a very different thing to how AI is going to impact your work, right? Because it's one thing to learn maths, right? So algebra and calculus and data science. These are the core skills you need to create, whether it's a large language model or machine learning, right? It's maths. It's maths based. Sure, that's one, career to get into and course to get into. But that is only one very small segment of what AI is going to do in the global scheme of things.
It's an interdisciplinary subject, of course, and that's how we deal with it in the University of Cyprus. It's not just like you said, the programming language or something like that. It's interdisciplinary, and you have to be agile and alert and be able to build on what you learn, which is a daily process.
Yeah. So, for example, right, I would imagine you adding into it, like if you're studying economics or business management, or it's how do you use AI in those professions, medicine, right, whatever. And is that what the university is doing?
It's not up to this degree that you described, but it's definitely treating it as interdisciplinary thing.
And you mentioned private funding. So what would that funding be used for?
It's to pay for the professor that would head the chair of AI, and certain research funding related to that. Donors in the University of Cyprus in general play a great role in. So far, we had huge donations for certain buildings or infrastructure that help a lot the university fulfill its quite ambitious infrastructure projects in the campus and all things. So yes, we don't have the culture of the United States where there is this culture of alumni giving back to the university, and in general, it's not so widespread in Cyprus, but we are building on it because at the end of the day, the alumni of the university, of every university, of any university, are its biggest strength.
Maybe I can throw in my recommendation, which may be good or not good, but here's what I would do. Why not be the first university that has created the first AI-based lecturer? So you got a room, whatever the technology looks like, right? Screen with some character that's there, not a real person. This character is a lecturer and has been trained on a specific subject. Students enter, AI welcomes them and starts the lectures. And then students ask it questions and it can answer. The technology is there.
Yes.
It's just taking it and driving it to that, wherever your imagination can go. And as a university, it's even a selling point. The first university in Europe that has created an AI lecturer and is one subject in the economics program, right? Whatever subject, train it.
Yes. It's something that definitely it's worth looking at. Of course, the regulations and approvals are needed even for this. Let's say we had it ready, there's going to be a lot of approval for this. But I'm not saying the university is ready to provide this thing. But definitely, I would love to see University of Cyprus at some point being the first in providing certain initiatives like the one you described.
I'm sure I'm not the first person who's thought of this. I'm sure every business and organization in their own domain of expertise have obviously thought about these things. Definitely.
Yes.
And I think it's just a matter of time until we see that.
I agree.
Interesting. So,
although I have to mention that we must also be very careful. The use of AI, it's still in it has a long way to go. And cautious warning to people who use it to get by in their exams or doing their projects. There are tools that are used to identify the use of AI, and
it's a form of plagiarism.
It is definitely it is, and actually AI needs a lot of improvement because you can see a lot of obvious, even to the naked eye, a lot of things that are not up to standard.
It can make mistakes.
It has a lot of mistakes. Trust me. There are essays in law that they citate cases that are fictitious. I mean, it's Dinos versus Tasos, 1938, and there hasn't been any case.
Wow.
Yeah.
I actually have a few examples. So I was on ChatGPT, and I can't remember what else I was working on. Oh, I remember. So I wanted it to create a diet program for me, and I had some specific requirements out of the diet that I wanted, that fits my needs. And those requirements had a bit of maths in it. So I wanted specific calories every day, my macro nutrients in certain portions per day, and specific foods. And I gave it all this information, and I told it, break it down for me. I want a 7-day plan, and I want the macronutrients to be aligned. So protein, at least 200 grams of protein, whatever the numbers are. You won't believe the mistakes
I
that
believe
made.
it. I believe it because I had similar experiences with.
So, on the first, I told it, make sure that the daily amount accounts to the proportional. And, if I'm going to have 400 grams of beef, what does that equate to in, on the macro scale and whatever else I eat? And then it loses it there. The calculations are completely off. And then I pick up the mistake and I go, you made a mistake there. That's wrong there, whatever. And I clearly give it where its error is. And I said, do it again. It does it again. Fixes that mistake, but creates another mistake. I never managed to get a program that was aligned. It couldn't get it.
I had similar experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, sure, the technology has got room for improvement, but I mean, let's compare
of course
what we had 2-3 years ago to what we have today.
No doubt.
Yeah, and another interesting one is this is one that Gary Vaynerchuk, who's very strong on marketing, is in the US. He's very ahead in terms of like social media and whatever. And a very interesting stat that he brought up, and I'll ask you, what are the chances of you going to Google to what you used Google for? Have you replaced that with ChatGPT today?
To a certain degree.
So you still use Google?
I do, yes, because I had bad experience with ChatGPT or even other the Grok
LLMs, Grok and Grok.
I don't trust them. I prefer doing the hardware and going to Google bit by bit and getting the result I want instead of. But I use it sometimes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But it's creeping
because I had
there.
a similar experience like yours, and I was I became very wary of the.
Yeah. But I mean, it's interesting, right? If you had to say 3-4 years ago, Google are miles ahead. There's nothing can ever replace what Google's serving the industry in terms of, their place on the internet. And this ChatGPT
it's the pace of change is the price you pay if you're complacent. I don't say Google is complacent because they're going to
super innovative.
I think they are going to take over or at least they're going to be a huge player in the AI spectrum for sure. And you cannot be complacent in success because the disruptors are a daily phenomenon in every single industry.
There's always some kink in the armor, no matter how big you are.
Exactly.
Tasos, we've been speaking for about an hour here, I think, already.
It was a great, very interesting chat we had.
Yeah, I think we covered most important points I think the audience would want to hear. If there's anything else that you think is worth discussing. Otherwise, how many students does the university have?
Undergraduate and postgraduate students around 7,000.
Oh. Are there any online courses? Or is everything on campus?
The online courses have been introduced recently. So far, not so many, but the plan is to increase the online courses as well.
And what are the other, I guess let's move into closing comments. What are the plans for the university over the next 5 years?
Well, first of all, very important infrastructure projects are being finished, and hopefully in the next 12 months there will be we will be able to utilize them, like the engineering school, the medicine school, and the school of biology.
Are these new buildings?
New buildings, yes, that are being completed. Almost they are close to completion, which will allow the university through new facilities be more important player, a regional player in the area for research and related facility topics. Hopefully, the draft bills that are in the parliament will pass so that the university can go on with its initiatives to enhance internationalization. Other than the post-undergraduate studies in foreign languages, we have the bill for the startups, which is very important, that will allow research scientists to spin off their startups, and also the bill for the university clinics, which is very important for the medicine school to go to the next level. And this is with regard to the pending aspects in front of the parliament. Enhancing, of course, the curriculum in various courses to be aligned with recent developments, technology, and everything else.
Awesome. Is there any other? It's the only university, government, public university, right?
No, there are three actually. The other one is the Technological University, which is based in Limassol, and the Open University, which mainly offers.
The Open University.
But
what does the Open University offer?
I think I'm not the expert to say, but I think it's mostly postgraduate online courses.
Okay.
And, yes.
That logo?
That logo, it's. I have recently heard the story about that logo from the person who designed it. It's a tree with double two trunks, and shows the two communities of Cyprus growing up to one.
That's the logo of University of Cyprus?
Yes.
Okay, I'm talking about the Open University logo. You don't know it?
No.
But
the University of Cyprus logo is this is something that has been in traditional. He found it from a trunk and designed. They were designing these things, and that's the story behind it. One tree with two roots.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Every logo's got a story.
Yes.
But when you're telling me about the logo, I thought you were talking about the Open University logo, which I brought up because my wife designed that one.
Okay.
And then when you said I spoke to them,
sorry,
I was like, oh, okay.
No. Don't get any ideas.
Nah, we're just kidding. So the University of Cyprus logo is two trees. It is. I didn't notice that. It's important, I guess, for any business that
The government and the current administration have set the very important, and I agree with it 100%, and the very promising strategy of making Cyprus the regional center for tertiary education. I think it goes without saying that in this strategy, the University of Cyprus has a lot to offer, and it can act as the spearhead, if you like, of this effort to make Cyprus a regional center for tertiary education.
Why not? And with 7,000 students, I think it.
Hopefully,
shows.
in the foreseeable future, this number will grow and will grow with foreign students as well.
Yeah, why not? Thank you, Tasos, for your time.
I thank you very much for the very interesting discussion we had.
Yes, it was good.
Very pleasant. Thank you.
And that's a wrap.